being in a leadership role is really hard.
Right.
The title looks sexy. I'm sure the pay bump probably looks sexy. The work itself is not. The work itself is it's very mundane. It's really problem solving, and it's very hard conversations. It's learning how to lead humans, which that's 90% of the work we do, right?
Right.
Is helping equip people to do that. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, who is super happy to be here, Emily Grace Deal. She's on this show to not only bring great questions, but to bring energy that I don't possess. Emily, what are we talking about today?
Today we have a very simple question.
Okay.
Are leaders born or created?
Are leaders born or created? This is such a simple question, but I think there's some things to learn from this, because I think the answer is both. I think the idea that we come out of the womb ready to lead is a little weird, but there are people that you see early in life, they're just naturally leaders, right?
Yeah.
So I think there are talents that lend themselves to leadership.
Yeah, I agree.
That we're born with, that some of us have, some don't, some have it stronger than others. I've got certain leadership talents. I've got some I'm lacking. I was born with some of those and some not. And I think that's true of every leader. The created part, I think anybody can learn how to lead. Most of leadership is teachable. It is the ability to inspire people. It's the ability to understand what next steps are and to really cut through the complexity of things, to simplify, to stay curious, all these things that we can teach.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of both. They're created and born.
That makes sense. I like the idea that like personality and traits have a piece of that, right?
Yes,
And we've talked before about how some leaders are a little more loud and some leaders are a little more quiet. That can be a part of it too, right? You can sometimes there's great motivational speakers and you see them and you're like, yeah, that person's a leader.
Yeah.
And they are really great at that momotivational piece, and which is a part of it.
But they may not be great at some of the rest, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that like learned
Yes.
like habits and how you handle things.
Yep.
That all is a piece of it too. And so I think it just is a combination of like how you can learn to do other things.
And part of the reason I think I lean heavily on the they can be created side is because ultimately being a good leader is just being a student of leadership. It is this nonstop quest to say, there's more for me to learn. There's more for me to know. That curiosity, right?
Right. Well, and I like that we kind of we have a broader definition of like what a leader is.
Yes.
And it's not just somebody who has a ton of people underneath them that they
It's not a title, right? Exactly. And so really when you kind of look at how we talk about leadership, everybody leads. Everybody, I always go to the example, did you have to choose to get out of bed today?
Yeah.
Then you're leading yourself, you know? Often we're leading our families. When we're in an organization and we're not at the top, we're still leading people beside us. We're leading people above us. You know, we just did an episode on leading up and how hard that is. We're all leaders in a very broad sense.
Right.
I think a more interesting question is, everyone does lead, but should everyone be, quote, in leadership? Should everyone aspire to the title to say, I got 10 people under me and I am now responsible for their growth and their productivity? I don't know that everyone should do that because there are certain skills required for that are tough. And being in a leadership role is really hard.
Right.
The title looks sexy. I'm sure the pay bump probably looks sexy. The work itself is not. The work itself is it's very mundane. It's really problem solving, and it's very hard conversations. It's learning how to lead humans, which that's 90% of the work we do, right?
Right.
Is helping equip people to do that.
Right. Because like most of the time we talk about like the things like the task lists don't necessarily get smaller, but they definitely change. And the way we handle them, it's so many more just like day-to-day problems and finding solutions to things. And it's less, I just have to get this entire list checked off and then move on.
I just have to worry about what am I getting done. Like there's it's funny how there are people that are like, I'm ready for that next thing. And they get the next thing. And they're like, oh, this is really not fun.
Well, yeah. And we also know that there's a lot of that. Well, I could do that better situation from a little bit of a
there is always that of, I could do that better. I understand everything I need to know.
Right.
And then
if
they get there.
They just knew.
Yeah, exactly. And then they get there and they're like, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I thought it was.
So much more complex.
Yes, it is. It's so interesting. And so I think leaders are both born and I think they're created.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone leads, but should we? Like, that's the thing is I think a lot of people aspire to that top spot because we're taught that's what you should do.
Yeah, I think you should find what best fits your skill set and where you want to be.
Yeah, where you want to be and where you can have impact. Like part of what we help people do is define the impact they're meant to have uniquely. Your impact that you have is different than my impact, right? And the question becomes, where can I have more of that?
I was thinking about the silly idea. Like if you and I just switched what we do, I don't want to do what you do every day.
I don't want to do what you do every day, right? It's like, I think we would both be good in different ways, but we're not meant for that role, right? We are not meant to do that.
It works well this way.
It works very well this way. I will say that. For a company as small as ours, we produce an insane amount of good quality things.
I'm not switching with Emily either. She's good at what she does.
She does a great job too.
The other Emily, that's so confusing.
Other Emily, yeah, she does a great job with things that we're not talented at. Yes. And so no, I think it's understanding that aspiring to that top level is what we're taught we should do, but we shouldn't all be there. It's a tough position being in leadership. And not everybody's meant to be there. And I think you have a lot of like people that are meant to be the best number 2 in an organization ever that get to number 1 and they struggle and they really have problems there. And I see that a lot. And it's understanding where you're supposed to be based on what are you gifted at? What are you meant to do really, really well?
Yeah.
Not to say that we can't grow that capacity for leadership. We can and we should. But where are we meant to be?
Sometimes
I think that's...
you can be Robin. And that's okay.
You can be Robin. And that's okay. Some people are meant to be Batman. Some people are meant to be Robin. Just be who you're meant to be. Yes. What's funny is when we started this conversation, I had no idea it was going to go to that. But it really is finding, are you in the right position? Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're born or created as a leader. Are you in the right position to have the most impact? Leaders, let's talk next steps. 2 things. One, on the leaders being created side, what are you doing to grow your leadership capacity? Whatever level you're at, what are you studying? What are you consuming? Hopefully, obviously, Leader Lab, if you're hearing me say this or seeing me say this, good choice. What else? What are you reading? What are you taking in? Who are you surrounding yourself with to help you grow as a leader? Because we all have that ability. And then I love this other idea of, as you look higher, where can you have the most impact that you are uniquely created to have? I think that's an important question for making decisions for what your role should be in the future. All right, Emily, thank you for bringing this interesting question that went in an interesting direction.
Batman's always the right direction. All I have to say.
If people want to send us more questions, where do they send that to?
To lab@forwardpartners.net.
Lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find us on the socials where we're all over the place, posting social media content about leadership. Where do they find that?
@ForwardPartner.
@ForwardPartner, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Now we need to find some Batman quotes related to leadership.
Challenge accepted.
And post them. Okay, that's your task for tomorrow. Perfect. Emily, thank you for this discussion. John, thank you for producing. And thank you for watching, viewing, listening, and hopefully sharing with fellow leaders. Anytime you hear something that would be helpful for a fellow leader, reach out to them, send them a link to it. That would mean the world to us. And we will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.